This is Ruben, and this is Ship Stories number 76. This week we had the Hurricane Corey in the northwest of Europe, and that meant that some ships got into some serious trouble, and one of them that was a lot on the news was the bulk carrier Julieta D, which was anchored a few kilometers out, 25 kilometers out of IJmuiden, and in an anchorage area, and the anchor lost grip. The ship started drifting away and struck another tanker, the Pecora Star, and during this collision the ship was damaged, and then the crew sent out a mayday because they said the ship was making water. It was making water. And they were saved by the Dutch Coast Guard, where you can see these fantastic images now. Thank you, Kustwacht Nederland. And the volunteers of the Nederlandse Reddingsmaatschappij did a fantastic job in bringing these people to safety. It's still in debate if the captain and the first officer should have left the ship, but going back to the topic of February, there we go again. February Fire Safety Month. I gotta get a better slogan next month. Anyway, safety. In this case, it's interesting is that despite the ship having damage, making water, it was then later, about the next day, it was safely brought into the Rotterdam harbor by salvage tugs, and everything's fine. They are going to repair the ship, and I think she should be okay. But why didn't it sink? Because of compartments. Last week we spoke about fire zones, bulkheads and decks that divide a ship. More importantly, or even as importantly, is having a ship divided in watertight compartments. These are often the same as the fire zones, and watertight compartments are a way of dividing the ship in different areas and then avoiding, of course, if you have a leak, that the water spreads through the ship. One of the ships that has an infamous history is, of course, Titanic, where out of the 16 compartments, 4 were damaged, and this led to total loss. Not really. What happened was the compartments were not, as today, were not all the way up the ship. So not from the bottom of the hull all the way up to the superstructure, to deck 5, evacuation deck, so to speak. So at a certain point, the water could pour over the compartment. And, well, we all know how catastrophic that was. So a ship is divided in compartments. The longer the ship, more compartments. Those compartments have watertight doors. Anything that's penetrating that compartment, and often the fire zone, has to be watertight up to a certain level. Not all the way up, it doesn't have to be, but very often it does. The compartment is watertight all the way up, but on penetrations it's a bit more complicated. Anyway, Hurricane Storm Corey has left the Netherlands. Unfortunately, not too much damage on land. Thank you for joining me, and see you next week. Bye bye.